Philip to Evelyn, April 20th, 1943, 8:30 a.m. Baby mine, this morning I'm more or less free of any work. I'd much rather be kept busy, but I do know how to use free time to the best advantage. I think you'll be interested in the doings of your hubby last night, so I'll oblige in the greatest detail I can muster. First, an item which I've meant to include in previous letters, but always managed to forget. There are two Logan boys working in personnel, Herb Solomon and Bernie Bernstein. Herb is the fellow who asked me last Friday in chapel if I wouldn't accompany him to the Seder in Bexley, a suburb of Columbus. We hopped the bus to town at precisely 5 p.m., and arrived in Bexley at 6:15, where we waited at the car stop for Mrs. Schechter to pick us up as prearranged. Another fellow from Lockburn was also invited, and he and our hostess arrived at the corner at the same time, 6:30. Mrs. Schechter is a large, dark-haired woman of about 35 years and very congenial. The other soldier was Jack Newman of Boston, and a swell egg. After introducing ourselves all around, we piled into the car, and after a 10-minute drive along a road lined on either side with some of the loveliest homes I have yet seen, arrived at the Schechter Menage. After one look at the place, I wished heartily that you were there to see it, Chippy. The building itself is not very pretentious, although larger than the average detached house one sees in Philadelphia. As a matter of fact, I got no more than a quick look at the outside as we went right in, but you would have loved the interior. The furnishings were predominantly French, and one didn't have to look twice to realize that they were of the best that money could buy. I only saw the living room, dining room, and kitchen, but one could easily imagine that the upstairs was equally attractive. It was the first sunken living room I had seen outside the movies, and I realized at once the reason for it. The fact that one had to descend 2 steps to reach the level of the floor gives a psychological impression of coziness. I felt as I descended, page 2, the 2 steps, that there was a dividing line between that portion of the home meant primarily for utility and this, quote, world apart, end quote, that at first glance made me feel that here and no place else was the place to relax, to engage in the more convivial pursuits of life. Perhaps the greatest contributing factor to the impression of coziness this room inspired was the fact that there are no windows. As I contemplated the room from the slight elevation of the center hall, it seemed to me I had never seen a room more pleasingly colorful, nor more tastefully furnished. Opposite the entrance is the fireplace, the feature in a room full of features. It is a beautiful thing of shiny brass and gray-purple marble, set in a portion of the wall which extends out into the room about 2 feet, and is about 1.5 feet wider than the fireplace itself. The pièce de résistance, however, is the immense mirror that covers every inch of this protuberance, from ceiling to floor, and entirely encompasses the fireplace itself. This takes up about 1/3 of the wall, which is about 16 feet long. The left-hand end wall, about 12 feet, features a double door entirely overhung by floor-length bright maroon drapes, which contrasts strikingly with the plain sky blue of the wallpaper. The rug is a luxurious broadloom figured in 2 shades of maroon and covering the entire floor. The furniture, as I said before, is French and altogether lovely. At right angles to the fireplace and facing each other are matching love seats upholstered in dusty rose mohair, figured in thin gold with a chain motif. The sumptuous sofa which takes up most of the space on the opposite long wall, has cushioned arms and is upholstered in that satiny stuff. I can't remember the name of the material to save my neck. What is it? The pattern is gold and pink flowers, small, against a nice blue background. And it is, without a doubt, the most luxurious thing of its kind it has ever been my pleasure to encounter. Flanking the sofa are matching convex front cabinets, topped by 2 large table lamps. The other items are a combination radio Victrola and a French cabinet, a gold-colored glass coffee table between the love seats, a beautifully carved 5-foot curio cabinet, 2 torches, and a large wall table overhung by a mirror, gold-framed. In spite of the wealth, page 3, of furniture, the room does not give the impression of overcrowding. I won't go into detail about the dining room and kitchen. Suffice it to say that they are entirely in keeping with the good taste and quality displayed in the planning and furnishing of the living room. The people we met were likewise, quote, quality, unquote, and their hospitality most cordial. They were as follows: Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Schechter, Mr. and Mrs. Meyer Schechter, the old mother of the Schechter boys, and Mrs. J. Schechter's cousin, Mrs. Louis Levin, about 28 years old, 11 years married, and a cutie. Her husband has been in the Army 5 weeks, stationed at Little Rock, Arkansas, and she is in the process of getting ready to join him. She has rented her apartment, furnished, to an Army captain and plans to leave tomorrow. We had a nice sociable time at supper, talking and eating and drinking and reading the Haggadah in between lulls in the conversation, which weren't very numerous. Yours very lovingly, after a few glasses of wine, had thawed out of his customary shyness to the extent that he contributed a substantial amount to the free-for-all table talk. We were driven back to town in time to watch the last bus out by our host and hostess. On parting, they invited us to come again tonight, or any time at all that we felt so disposed. She asked me to bring you out if you are ever in town again, and I told her I would be delighted to have the opportunity, and I wasn't kidding her a bit. Altogether, I enjoyed the evening immensely, and I intend to make it a point to cultivate these people, not without an ulterior motive. Catch? Just received 2 letters, yours of Sunday, and Jack N's of, you figure out the dates, I can't. I'm enclosing his letter. It speaks for itself, and how. The enclosure he speaks of was $5. Can you beat that? Chippy, how can I tell you what your letter made me feel? The picture you draw is not a cheerful one, and my heart goes out to you in your trouble. If there were only something concrete I could do to ease the hardship, I wouldn't feel nearly as badly as I do. But this sitting idly by like a spectator while you are in such difficulty is maddening. Sympathetic words are of little aid when you so obviously need material help. I know, but sadly and unquestionably, page 4, they are all I have for you in the way of comfort and condolence. I pray the worst is over and that the cherub will be feeling well soon, allowing you the rest and peace of mind you so sadly need and so richly deserve. Try not to let these trying days get you completely down for all our sakes. There are so many people who depend on you to keep well and strong. Will you try your best to be strong, my sweet? I realize that you are not entirely the master of your strength, dearest, but you are the master of your will, and you must will it that you will not go under the weight of your present tribulations. Remember, the easiest thing to do is to give up. The temptation to give way to despair and hopelessness and sickness is at times overpowering, I know, but you must fight this temptation with all the forces and strength of your will. I think you appreciate the consequences to us if you fail. The hell of it is that you must, of necessity, make this fight alone without the benefit of any physical support I might be able to contribute. Any support I might offer must, of necessity, the same, be moral. To that end, I have done all I can. I'm counting on you to come through it all. Okay? And don't for a minute doubt that you won't. I love you, baby, mine, and just can't be convinced that this love isn't big enough to surmount any and all hardships, nor strong enough to make all things possible. My love to all, a tender kiss for the child of my own love, my own lovely, yours as ever, Phil. P.S. Just learned that we are leaving for 4-week bivouac. Sorry about plans for May 1st. Maybe June 1st. Expect to leave in a few days. Counting on you to keep 'em smiling. Keep on writing, baby. I love you.